Welcome back. This video will cover the aspects of socialism and why it does not work. So, what is socialism? Socialism is a system based on public ownership of the means of production. The government completely regulates the economy. Citizens in a socialist society rely on the government for basically everything, from food to healthcare. The ideals contain production for use rather than for profit, an equal distribution of wealth and material resources among all people, no more competitive buying and selling in the market, and free access to goods and services. Socialism is the straight opposite of capitalism. There have been multiple ideologies in the past with socialist influence like communism, fascism, or National Socialism, and multiple countries have had these ideologies like the Soviet Union, North Korea, Cuba, or China. But why do they keep trying socialism? The ideal image of socialism is very attractive, especially for younger people and poorer people. If everyone should be equal, then poor people gain and rich people lose.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!
It's moral, it's fair, it's equal. People think capitalism is selfish. It's the other way around. Socialism is selfish and unfair. If I work hard in life and somebody else does absolutely nothing all day, why would we deserve and earn the same income? It makes no sense from a theoretical perspective, so why would it make sense from a practical perspective? However, there are also many people who live or have lived in socialist countries but actually do not agree with it. You see, there is another party who benefits from socialism, and you can guess who. It's the government. The government has all the power in a socialist state. They not only completely regulate the market, but also decide who gets what. So, has socialism ever been successful then? No. Every time socialism has been tried, it has not been successful, because it does not take great economic knowledge to understand why it does not work on a large scale. The attractiveness of socialism is that we get stuff for free. It reminds me of the stimulus checks in the US, now the Democrats are in charge. Everyone is getting these free checks every few months, but remember, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you get something, then automatically someone has to pay for it. It can be the government or your fellow citizens, but somebody has to get hurt. If you only let the government pay, then they either don't have the money or they simply print the money like in the US, and as a consequence reduces the value of their currency. This has happened in many countries. You can think of the Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe, Venezuela, etc. Now, if the people or rich people pay, we basically steal their money, which is theft on its own. Now the question is, why has socialism never been successful? I already partially explained this in my previous point, but I want to elaborate further on this. Maybe the biggest problem is that nobody has an incentive to do their best or work hard, become productive, start a business, invest, etc., etc. If you prevent people to get rich, you also prevent people to have incentives or ambitions to become rich, and thus again reducing productivity in life. So nobody fulfills the criteria to be a productive member of society, and there's nobody anymore to be the core of economic growth. Also, if we look at socialism from a moral perspective, capitalism is freedom. Socialism is tyranny, it's coercive. You do not own anything because everything is of the state. It's kind of like living in a prison. Everyone is equal, you have the same clothes, you have the same food, same prison cell. Everyone has the same amount of freedom, which is close to zero. And finally, 3 examples of why socialism makes no sense at all. Number 1. When a businessman starts a business and invests its own capital in it, along with some loans presumably, that businessman bears the risk on how the company performs. Now imagine the company is doing well after years of hard work and is making a lot of profit, which makes the businessman very wealthy as well. His employees are making the minimum wage or maybe a bit more. According to socialism, this is unacceptable. But you have to understand that that businessman who started the company had not only put his own capital at risk, but also risked not paying the loan back when the company would fail. And what about the amount of hours of work he put into the firm? He ran the risk, he worked hard, succeeded, and now he deserves to reap the benefits. This is capitalism, and thankfully, this is how modern Western society works. Everyone has the opportunity to succeed and to have dreams and ambitions. Number 2. In Capital Volume 1, Karl Marx defined the term exploitation. Exploitation, in Marx terms, describes the situation in which employees produce more value for employers than the value of wages paid to them. Now, in my eyes, this is simply how a company works. If I hire someone with a production of value 10 and his wage is of value 15, why would I hire him? Hiring these people leads to a loss and would eventually let the company go bankrupt, which in the end would mean the employee has no job anymore. The solution is either hiring someone with a higher productivity or lower the wage. This way you can make a profit, which helps the company, and as a result leads to job creation, aka the employee gets to keep its job. This is simple economics, and this is the reason why capitalist countries are wealthier. Number 3. Income inequality is not bad per se. Every country has some income inequality. It's not about making the rich people worse off, it's about making the poor people better off without making the rich people worse off. This is actually called a Pareto improvement, derived from the famous economist Vilfredo Pareto. Imagine a country where everyone is poor and therefore equal. Does that make it a good society or good economics? No, everyone is equally in a bad position. It's about income inequality where you have poor people, but the poor people are still doing relatively well and can have a sufficient life and have a sufficient standard of living. Only extreme income inequality is, in my opinion, something bad on its own. Thanks for listening. What do you think of socialism? Please like, subscribe and comment in the comment section below. Have a nice rest of your day.